All right, Sarah, should we get started?
Yeah, I think we're probably good.
Okay. All right, everybody. Tonight is our Fly Fishing 102, the second part of 3 with the Pennsylvania Backcountry Hunters and Anglers with the Take 2 program. The Take 2 program is the R3 arm of our chapter. Recruitment, retention, and reactivation. So for those of you who are new to fly fishing or returning, you have come to the right place. So my name is Adam Eckley. I'm here with Sarah Xenophon. So we are going to speak with you tonight about some more of the kind of the logistical aspects of fly fishing or just trout fishing in general. So we're going to talk a little bit about Pennsylvania laws, regulations, a bit about some trout fishing kind of conservation related items. And then we're going to talk about some really great topic, which is finding stream access, how the stocking program works, and basically how to find really good places to go trout fishing here in Pennsylvania. And then we will also give you some more information about part 3 of the series, which will be in person at Pocketknife State Park coming up the last weekend of June. So I will, at this point, turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks, Adam. All right, so let's just get right into it. What do you need to fish? Here are 4 big ones. You need a fishing license, you need some fishing gear, you need a few other odds and ends of gear, and you need to consider your safety. So let's dive right in. So buying a license, for those of you who've never bought a license before, this is a great process to engage with in Pennsylvania. You can do it in one of 3 ways. You can do it online, which I think is pretty easy, using the huntfish.pa.gov program page. You can do it in person. This is super easy. You can walk into a Walmart or a sporting goods store, Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever it is. There's a lot of places, even some gas stations will sell licenses sometimes. So there's plenty of places to buy licenses in person. And they'll print it right out for you on site. And then you can do it by phone as well. And online and in person, you either need to print it or they'll mail it to you at a later date. Something to keep in mind, and we'll talk about that in just a few seconds, is if you're gonna fish for trout, specifically like fly fishing on a stream, or if you're gonna fish any of Lake Erie, you do need a trout stamp specifically. And if you're fishing Lake Erie, you need a Lake Erie permit as well, which is an additional thing on top of your regular license. So this is kind of the rundown. You can see there's a whole bunch of options for you. If you're taking out your cousin who lives in Kentucky and he's just there for a weekend, obviously you could do a 3-day tourist license or something like that. But for the most part, the folks who are on this call, you're probably a resident, so that top line is your primary purchase. If you're fishing trout on streams, you're going to need that trout permit too. And then finally, that Lake Erie permit is pretty handy to have. If you know for a fact that you're going to fish trout and Lake Erie a lot and you're going to use both of them, you can actually get a combination trout Lake Erie permit and save yourself a little bit of hassle, I suppose.
Yeah, something else of interest too is there's 2 free fishing days per year, right, Sarah?
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's Memorial Day and 4th of July. You can fish for free anywhere in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, good call, Adam. And actually, if you want to bring your kids until they're up to 16, they can fish for free as well. So this is a nice, cheap, and fun family event. Some fishing gear. So obviously you're going to want your rod and your reel. You're going to want all your tackle. That includes your fly boxes. You're going to want to have extra line, whether it's, extra leaders and a whole bunch of tippet. And then you're probably going to want all your indicators, which are those little bobber things. You might want your nippers, which are basically just toenail clippers. You're going to want pliers so that if you do hook a fish pretty bad, you can get it out and not worry about having a hook hung up somewhere. As far as waders go, there's a whole it's really a preference thing, but also a weather thing. So some folks just want, knee boots because their streams they fish in are small. Sometimes you can make it with just hip boots or hip waders. I think those are pretty handy in most situations in Pennsylvania. Obviously, you have your waders that just come up to your waist, and then also your chest waders for full on, big rivers that you might be crossing. So pick the appropriate waders. There's also two types of waders. So you have your breathable waders, which usually look like a gray, thinner material. And then you have your neoprene waders, which would be for really cold weather situations. If you're fishing steelhead in the middle of winter, you probably want neoprene waders to keep you warm. And then a net. A net's really important, actually. I didn't use one always when I was little or younger, but I have found that the net is indispensable when it comes to landing the fish. So anytime you're taking your weight off of the tip of your rod, you can lose that fish because you bend your barbs down and then that hook just falls right out. So having the net is good for landing, but it's also really important for when you get the fish, right? Because you want to keep them wet. And while you keep them wet, you want to get the hook out and you might want to take some photos, but the entire time you're handling that fish and looking at it and taking photos, you want to keep the fish wet. And so having a net allows you to do that really easily without, slipping and getting a hook in your finger and that sort of thing. Additional gear, this is a whole list of things, honestly, that you could bring to the river, either in your car or in a waist pack or whatever you're going to do. Rain gear is probably at the top of that list. I just always keep a rain jacket in my car. You never know when the weather's gonna turn on you, or even just for wind, sometimes to get the wind off you. Appropriate layers for the conditions. So, have a fleece or a puffy or, moisture wicking base layers. So moisture wicking is really, really important for a lot of outdoor activities, but specifically activities where you're probably going to get a little wet. You're in the stream, fish can splash you, you can trip and get submerged sometimes, you can top over your boots, whatever. Moisture wicking stuff is really important. So try not to wear cotton. There's a saying in the outdoor industry that cotton kills, and it's true. If you get wet in cotton and it gets cold out, that cotton holds that moisture, you get very cold, it's a bad situation. And then also this UPF, think about the sun. People get sunburn all the time, even on days where it's cloudy, because they don't even consider that they could get sunburn. But UPF, either suntan or sun lotion or something like that, protect yourself. Exposed skin can burn, and even on a cloudy day. Wear a hat. Hats are great for all sorts of reasons. Keep the sun off your eyes. They help you see actually over the water, which is nice. But even better than that is actually polarized sunglasses. This allows you to get past some of the glare on the water. So if you've ever looked at a lake and just saw like a mirror of sunlight, polarized sunglasses really help cut some of that glare and let you see the fish in the water. And I never, even on cloudy days, I never teach anyone how to fish without sunglasses on. And that's mostly because catching a hook in the eye would really suck. And so having sunglasses at least is a protection against that. So very handy at all times. Bug spray, obviously, to keep the bugs off. Snacks, because don't go anywhere without snacks. Spare dry clothes in the car. This is one that I've learned the hard way. Sometimes your waders leak, and sometimes you top them over, and sometimes you slip, and all these things happen, or it pours down and you didn't expect rain. Keep some dry clothes in the car. It'll make your life a lot better. And don't forget clean and dry underwear, because if you remember everything else and not underwear, you're going to be miserable. I don't know if you've ever had that, Matt, or that Adam. Some safety what's that?
I said yeah. Enough said.
Some safety considerations. You're going to want a first aid kit. First aid kits are very I don't want to call them controversial, but everybody has their own idea of what should go into a first aid kit. My recommendation would be pack a first aid kit that you're comfortable using. So if you're like a trauma surgeon and you feel comfortable using scalpels and stitches and all that stuff, go for it, right? But for the average Joe who's just fishing out on the creek, you know, over a weekend or something, that doesn't have any trauma skills or anything like that, just go with the simple stuff. Maybe some moleskin if you're getting blisters, maybe a couple Band-Aids, Neosporin, antiseptic, that sort of thing. Maybe some ibuprofen or that sort of thing. Benadryl for sure, just in case of reactions to various things out in the environment. And think about the things that might happen. So if you're going to get a hook in your hand or in your leg or something, what would you need to repair that sort of thing? PFD, this is just a personal flotation device. That's a life jacket or a life vest. That's what they call them, the Fish and Boat Commission, a PFD. A whistle, because sometimes when the water is really rushing, you can't hear somebody yell. You could be standing across the river from somebody and they could be screaming their head off. But a whistle will cut through that noise like a voice won't. Fire making kit, we added this because if you do get soaked and you're freezing and you're not that close to your car, this is backcountry hunters and anglers, so sometimes you're pretty far away, make a fire. You know, you've got to be able to warm yourself up and dry yourself out. It's pretty important to have a kit and also know how to use it. I know a lot of guys use the little flint and steel, and that's fine and it works, but there's practically nothing better than just a little Bic lighter. So keep a little Bic lighter in your life vest or in your fishing tackle, whatever it is. You never know when it'll come in handy. A headlamp with good batteries. I supply headlamps to everybody who comes out with me, whether it's hunting turkeys or fishing trout or whitetail hunting, because I can't stand flashlights that you have to hold in your hand, because it's one less thing that you have to worry about, right? Just put it on your head, strap it to your head with a battery and you're good to go. A pocket knife, you can use a pocket knife for practically endless things. A map, so you can use paper maps, but if you're gonna use paper maps, make sure they have a waterproof covering of some sort. Maybe you have a GPS system, maybe you've got OnX or some sort of app on your phone. Maybe you just have Google Maps, and that's fine if you have service, but have a backup too, just in case. Having a map is pretty darn useful. And then some other safety considerations. Making a plan and telling others sounds easy, but people don't always do it, especially if they're just running down the road or just taking a quick hike. If something goes badly and people don't know where you're at, it takes a much longer time to find you. So making a plan and just letting somebody know, shooting them a text to let them know where you're at, that's a good way to do it. And these days you can drop a pin so easily on Google Earth. Drop a pin, share it with somebody. Changing weather, always consider changing weather, because like we talked about earlier, you never know when it's going to downpour. It could get real cold real fast if you're not paying attention. So check the weather before you go, whether it's a 3-day trip, a 7-day trip, a 2-hour trip, check the weather. It's not that hard. It's pretty easy. You can do it on your phone. Prepare for the worst. So even if I know it's going to be a dry, beautiful day, I still bring my raincoat, because you just never know. And then have a plan B. So sometimes you'll get out, you'll do all this planning. It's a big trip. It's a full weekend. You have all your gear with you. You make it to the river and it is raging at the levels where you can't get in, you can't get access. It's dangerous. You can't see, the bottom of the creek. Have a plan B. Don't go forward with that plan if it's looking dangerous. Have a backup. Wade safely. So we'll talk about this on the next slide, but just try to use proper crossing techniques if you're going to go across, faster moving water or higher water, or really anytime you're crossing water, prepare properly. One trick is if you have a backpack on that has a waist belt, unclip your waist belt before you go. You don't want it dragging you downstream with it. You can always take your backpack off. It's not the end of the world. So stuff like that, be cognizant of it. Cold water kills. Again, we're going to say it over and over. If you get cold, if you get wet, that's a dangerous situation. You can get hypothermia really easily by being cold and wet. And always, you're out in nature, so be vigilant. In Pennsylvania, there aren't a ton of huge predators, but if you surprise a black bear with their cubs, it's not going to be a great situation for you. So be aware that there are black bears out there. Be aware that You're not the only critter along the stream. Be aware that when you're stepping up out of a bank, there could be copperheads. There could be all sorts of venomous snakes along a river corridor. So just be aware of your surroundings and try to prepare properly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have anything to add, Adam.
No, that's really good, Sarah. That's great information. I really like the idea of, definitely, awareness and cold water. You and I both, in addition to fishing, we also spend a lot of time waterfowl hunting. Those PFDs in the wintertime, if you're in a canoe on a fishing trip, or if it's cold water, just besides the legality of the requirement to wear a PFD, but, be aware of it, give yourself, you're the best chance you have if you do go in the water, because it does happen, and it has happened. And it has happened to me more times than what I'd like to admit. And I didn't always have those dry clothes and all those other things.
You learn it all the hard way.
Yeah. No.
Actually, you bring up a really good point, Adam. We didn't even talk about being on a boat for any of this. This is all just wading material. But if you're on a boat, it opens up a whole nother set of safety considerations. So obviously wearing a PFD, having a whistle is mandatory on your PFD. Read the handbook, because they will tell you all the things that you should be doing. And it's not because they want to make your life harder, but it's because they want to keep you guys safe when you're on the water. Absolutely. Oh, and if you have a wading belt when you're wading, use it, because if your waders fill up with water, they become very heavy. Pro tip.
Yeah.
So some safe wading techniques, go slowly. There's no reason to run across the stream. You don't have to get there in record-breaking time. So take your time. Scout before you wade. Don't just plunge in and assume that the next step is going to be, level. Don't assume there's no holes that you can't see there. Use a wading staff.
Especially
Don't
if the water's cloudy.
What's that?
I said, especially if the water is cloudy, you can't always see the bottom, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just tow it away. Tow and keep. Plan each step and shuffle if you have to, and just scooch your way across. Whatever you have to do. And don't feel bad about using a wading staff. I know some people who they feel weak somehow by using a staff, but just use it. It makes you more stable. It's like a third leg. Just go ahead and use it. Place it upstream of you and use it to stabilize yourself. And then face upstream, quartering at an angle. You don't want to be upstream broadside, because you'll catch a lot of that force from the water. But you also don't want to be just parallel to the water either, because you can't move as easily. So using the PA Fish and Boat website, there are basically two reasons why people use this website, two very broad and amazing reasons. First is knowing the regulations, and second is finding water and knowing where to go. So we're going to go through knowing the regulations, what the different waterway classifications might look like, seasons and creel limits, and tackle restrictions. Both of these links head to those websites. So if you want to come back to this PowerPoint at a later date, you can click on them and explore some of those things. And then finding waters, we're going to talk about maps and how to find water access on those maps. So knowing the regulations, this is very important. It doesn't matter whether you are fishing for trout. It doesn't matter if you're fishing for bass. It doesn't matter if you're hunting turkeys. It doesn't matter if you're hunting whitetail. It doesn't matter if you're hunting dove. You need to know what the regulations are. You need to know what you're allowed to take from the river, if you're allowed to take anything, and you need to know the seasons. So different waters offer different opportunities, but they also have their different considerations. So you might have a stream that is stocked year round, and it's easy to access, and the Fish and Boat Commission wants people taking fish from it. And so they're stocking trout so that more people have the opportunity to take fish and go eat them, which is great. But there are other trout streams where it's only catch and release. And these portions of the stream are there because if they weren't, you'd have to stock it because there are so many people who like to fish it. And quite frankly, a lot of fly fishermen just like to take the fish out of the water, take a photo, a big, beautiful trophy trout, and put it back and let it swim away. And so those protections are in place so that, certain waters are protected in one way while other waters are handled in a different way. And all of these have to deal with population management. So there are folks out there with the Fish and Boat Commission whose entire lives revolve around catch and release surveys and pit tags and just studying everything they possibly could about these fish to know where they live, how they spawn, is the population up, down, what's impacting them, are there chemicals in the water that are impacting them, the whole kit and caboodle. And so when they set regulations like you're only allowed to take 2 trout per day per this season, or if they say you're not allowed to take any trout, they're managing very specifically for certain populations, whether it's trophy trout or eating trout. They've got their reasons. They also might be trying to manage for native brook trout and say, we really prize the native trout. We want them to stay. We don't necessarily want them overrun with brown trout and bass and everything else that lives in the stream. And then everybody, when you get your fishing license, you should also be getting a summary handbook, which is just like a little paper copy handbook of basically all the regs that you need to know. Everything from boating regulations, PFD regulations, fishing, creel limits, seasons, different licenses, the whole kit and caboodle. It's in a paper copy. I just keep it with my tackle, usually in my car. And if I have a question, I'll refer to it when I need to. Certain waters I know very well, and so I know the regulations for them, but they do change from year to year. So, excuse me, at the beginning of each season, you should really check it again because you never know when they're going to change a creel limit or, you know, change the start date. Obviously, the trout opener was a single day this year, which is new. They didn't want people traveling across the state for different openers, so they just said everybody fish on this day. This is the opener. The youth day was all the same. So be cognizant each year. It's going to change a little, but it's not the end of the world. It's easy to figure out. And then if you want more interactive content, the Fish and Boat website is actually really impressive. They've got videos on how to do all sorts of things. They've got tutorials. They've got handy, fun, educational stuff for kids. They've got trout in the classroom education, pretty much anything you'd ever want to know about fish or waterways in Pennsylvania. They've got some cool content there. So if you're still learning and you want to know more, the Fish and Boat website is actually a fantastic resource. These are 3 big links that you can use to find water and understand the different classifications. So this first one is stream access. So this will be talking about all the maps and where you can find, you know, where to put in and where you're allowed to wade and that sort of thing. Trout water classification will tell you more about, you know, whether it's a trout stock stream or if it's warm water fishery or that sort of thing. And it'll explain all that information to you. And then the stocking program, the Fish and Boat actually tells you when they're stocking and where and how much. And so if you really want your kid or your family to really enjoy themselves and catch a lot of fish, very easily you can find where they're stocking and when, and you can hit it as hard as you want really after that. So we're going to dive into finding the water first. So this is stream access. You can click on the link that we just showed you, or you can just Google it because Fish and Boat has made it pretty much that easy. Map resources, you go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to this website. You just scroll down. Pretty much any of these will take you to the map itself, except for this PASDA one. This PASDA one, if you're really map wise, they actually have shape files that you can download and use in ArcMap. But for most people who don't have ArcMap and don't, you know, care to use all that stuff, just click on County Guide or one of these other links. It'll take you to their, well, actually there's a splash screen before this just to let you know how you can use this information and basically how to use it. And you'll just say, yep, I accept, it's cool, whatever. And then you'll come to this screen, right? Which is Pennsylvania, all the counties. You can search by county if you want. Up here, it even shows you where in Pennsylvania you're looking at this point. On your left, this is these are a set of layers that you can toggle on and off on the map. So if I were just looking to put my canoe in the water at a Fish and Boat launch site, all I would have to do is click boat access, and then I could search the whole state and my county specifically for those boat access points. But if I were also looking for, well, where can I float my canoe, but also trout fish all year long, then I could click boat access and click, you know, stock trout streams or stock trout year round streams. And then that would give me that selection. So if I click on a couple of those layers, and then I zoom in, so I zoomed into Center County, and the reason we zoomed into this spot is actually because this will be the location of our camp weekend coming up in June that you're all very welcome to register for. So this is Po Valley State Park, and I just toggled a couple of these layers. You have your boat access, you have special regulation streams, Class A streams, stock trout lakes, stock trout streams, and they all have different map key items for them. So you can see the boat access are these little yellow triangles, and so when you look on the map, it shows you those little triangles. And again, it'll show you, you've zoomed into this area, but it'll also show you where you are kind of in Pennsylvania as well. So close to Rothrock State Forest. So that's kind of how you would find.
Am I correct that if you hover over those or if you click on them, it gives you the details on the locations?
It will. This is just a screenshot, so unfortunately it's not interactive in that way. But if you go to the website and you click through this, it'll give you more information. And if you had questions about it, you can always search like if you didn't know what Class A streams were, we could go to the Fish and Boat website and find out what Class A streams were based on that classification we talked about earlier. And so at that point, you'd have all the information you needed to drive there and check it out. What's really handy about this map is as you zoom out and in and toggle and show things, it's got all the roads here. So I've actually planned trips based on this map specifically. I've taken screenshots and then just taken them with me on my phone. I didn't even print them out. I just had screenshots on my phone because you might lose service, in the mountains or something. And then you're driving along this road until you hit X point, and it's great. It's actually really, really handy, and I've planned entire trips around using this sort of map. All right, why don't you take this one, Adam?
Sure. Okay, so this is part 3, the final installment of our instructional course. So this will be at Po State Park, which you saw actually on the last map. That is in Center County. If you have ever been there, there's actually 2 campgrounds. There's a more rustic campground, and there's one that they have, tent camp. There's, in addition to tent camping, you can also bring like an RV or camper or whatever that happens to be. There's a lake there that is stocked with trout. There are also panfish and chain pickerel in that lake. You can take I believe that you can take, you might be able to take a boat with an electric motor on there. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not any powered boats, like gas engines or anything like that. So it's a rather tranquil lake. It's really nice for a canoe. Excellent fishing there, but it also borders Penns Creek, which is perhaps arguably one of the finest trout streams in the United States, certainly in the East Coast. I grew up fishing on that stream, so it's basically home water for me. So we're really looking forward to being able to do that. Some of the details on the trip is that we have a group camping site. We can have up to 20 people on that site. So Sarah and I and some of our other friends are going to be there on Friday night, and we will be there through Sunday. We have Friday night will be rather casual. Saturday will be a full day of both kind of a sort of an informal instructional, but also hands-on learning. We will provide the equipment that's required. We would ask that you just bring your fishing license because we will be fishing. So we'll be fishing both on flatwater on the lake, and we will also be fishing on Penns Creek and more of a kind of a mentored experience. So we'd like to see everybody, come home with, certainly some great memories and hopefully some trout as well. We will have food there, lots of fun for the family. We'll have a couple of giveaways. So it should be a really, really great weekend. We're super excited about it.
Yep, absolutely. And we did have one question about whether we're certain we'll get camp spots already, but we already took care of that. We have a very large group camp spot, so we'll have plenty of room for everybody and their families if they decide to bring them out as well.
Yeah, and you can, if you don't want to participate in the group site, or if you have a camper or something like that, you can. They should. The last time I checked, they still had some campsites that were available that you can get independently. If you choose to stay on the group site, we already have that covered. Just show up. Anybody who needs any equipment or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. Sarah will take care of it. We'll make sure that we have plenty of equipment for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're getting a bunch of great questions. So
yeah, for sure.
Approximate time starting on Saturday. I think we said a 9 a.m. start. So
yeah,
if
we'll about,
yeah, if you wanted to come just for the Saturday and take off afterwards, we'd be happy to have you for that too.
Yep.
And then I think the group site is tent only, but like Adam said, there's probably some other options at this point if you can get one ahead of time. Bring your own tents. Sure. If you have your own tents, absolutely bring your own. Bring your own gear, and if you need something, Adam and I can cover you. And we have a bunch of great donors who are ready to provide stuff for us. I'm
gonna put my email in the chat. If anybody needs equipment or has questions, feel free to just shoot me an email.
Yep. Bathrooms and shower facilities, Adam, I'm not sure about that one.
So bathrooms and showers, I know that they have they definitely have bathrooms for sure. Mm-hmm. Shower facilities, I think they have on the Po Valley side, which is the side that you can have campers and things. I think they do. I haven't been there for some years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we are planning a rain or shine. Don't have a rain date set up. If it's bad on Saturday, we'll hope for Sunday.
Yeah.
But that's we'll work something out if things get real miserable, but for now it's rain or shine.
Yep.
Very good.
I also there's also a question here. Does the map show the stream name from the previous slide? So yes. So if you go to that,
actually,
if you're
you want to
on
do that now?
Site, yeah, we can. Why don't we do that? Yeah, let's go. We got some time as long as everybody's okay with it.
Ooh, jumped ahead here. So let's just
and while you're setting that up, so as far as bringing your own food and utensils, feel free to bring whatever you like. However, we will have some food there for the main meals. Of course, just bring snacks, things like that. But we'll have a pile of food, for everybody. But we'll have some more details to follow on that. But we did plan on having for Saturday. We planned on having a group, certainly like a group lunch, and then also we'll have a dinner as well. Mm-hmm. Which for the dinner we'll have something really interesting planned for that. Definitely we'll have a classic river dinner, right?
Absolutely. All right, I think we're getting close. Am I there? Oh, here we are. Very good. So if you would scroll in, can you see my screen here?
I'm still seeing your slide.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Let me try this one. How's that?
Yep, I got it now.
Fantastic. So like we were saying earlier, if you toggle a couple things and you either click on them or hover, let's see, click on them, boat access, it'll tell you the name. If you click on the stream, Class A streams, and 7 miles from the confluence of Elk Creek downstream to 600 m downstream Swift Run, Trout Fishery, Brown, Penns Creek, Center County. So that it gives you all kinds of good info. Oops. If you're fishing on this creek, same deal. Panther Run, Mifflin County. Talks about where you're allowed to, that Class A stream is. It's 5.64 miles from the headwaters down to the mouth. Wild brook trout fishery. I didn't even know that. How cool is that?
Yeah, cool, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna skip out on Penns and jump over.
Did you see the percentage of public land right there? 100%.
100% public land.
100% public land.
Talk about public landowners. Look at us. This whole valley. We own this whole valley as a team. How cool is that? Yeah, thanks for catching that, Adam. That's awesome. Special regulations lakes or stocked year-round lakes. Just turn on a whole bunch of stuff, see what we find. Oh, there's a boat launch there, which is great. That's a trout. Stock lake. Yep. And then you hit this. Po Lake, Center County. Statewide opener, just like everybody else. You can even ask a question. So you say, well, what is a stock trout water regulation? And it takes you straight to it. So it'll answer all of your questions. So this is basically just, we're trying to show you all the tools that you can use to find the answers that you need, because we can't answer every question. You know, what about this creek up in Mifflin County or this one over in Tioga? It's just easier to show you how to find the answers, and then you can Google to your heart's content. All right, we've got a couple of questions that maybe we can either follow up with or just show, you know, the registration for, which the registration will be coming out soon for that camp out weekend.
Yeah, so we'll have that. So for everybody who registered, we will send out a message to you directly. We wanted to make sure that everybody who registered for these certainly had priority for the group campsite. In answer to the question, a few people asked if you need waders. So I can say that I have waded Penns Creek in the summertime many times in a pair of old sneakers. It is going to be a little bit chilly, but where we're going to be going, you will probably be able to fish mostly from the shore. Or are kind of on a big rock. But I would say, just if you don't already have waders, don't go out and buy a pair for this. I don't think that we probably have enough to cover everybody anyway. But if you just bring a pair of old sneakers, something along those lines, you'll definitely be fine for an evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was planning on wet wading, but that's a good.
Yeah, and I will too, for sure. And then also, so for directions to the site, we will have all that information that'll be included when we send everything out with the registrations. So that'll have the directions for that. So it's a little bit tricky to get in there where we're going. It's you kind of got to drive up over a mountain and down into a valley. So it's kind of a neat drive to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody asked about having copies of this. So our first one is actually already posted on the BHA YouTube page. There's an entire YouTube page devoted to backcountry hunters and anglers. This one will follow shortly. We'll probably just clean it up and set it up as soon as we can. So, yep, you'll see that up there soon.
Yeah, and I think if anybody, that's up to you, Sarah. You created the deck, but if anybody wanted to see the actual deck, that's up to you. Yeah,
it's really, if somebody needs something very specific and they want the slides, I can certainly get that to you too. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Well, we've got more and more. This is great.
Oh yeah, this is great. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled that you have all the questions. Okay, so the cost is your fishing license.
Yep.
Yeah, so just bring your fishing license and yourself and come and have a good time on us, right?
Yep. Everything else is on the house.
I see somebody shared. This is great. Thank you. So there's currently 9 sites available on Po Valley State Park website for camping. Those are all the non-electric sites. So there's Po Valley State Park, and then there's also Po Patty, which are pretty much side by side. So Po Patty is the more rustic area where the group camping site is.
Yeah.
So, okay. What other questions do you have? Do you want to unmic everybody, Sarah, or unmute everybody? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will attempt to do that. Let's do that.
Okay.
Oops. I think everybody is allowed. Well, I'll just ask everybody to unmute. If you would like to unmute, now's your chance to chat with us.
Hi, Adam and Sarah.
Yes.
Instead of putting this in the chat, I'll just ask you.
Sure.
Is there any homework that you recommend in terms of like YouTube videos or books or stuff so we're ready to hit the ground running on the day one?
Yes.
Great
Yeah.
question.
I think when I was first learning, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about casting. I won't say that it prepared me entirely for it, but it gave me an idea of what I was supposed to look like, which is helpful, you know. So it's kind of tricky to prepare to learn how to cast. That's probably the trickiest part of fly fishing, is just getting the cast down. But yeah, watch a couple YouTube videos. That'll help you out, you know, for sure. And then, you know, bring some spices, because you never know if we'll catch something good to eat. A couple lemons help.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'll
Yeah.
and just so I don't miss any of your emails, announcements, when should I look for those in terms of signing my name to the dotted line?
It's a great question.
So you'll see something with us probably within the next week. You will see something come out from us on that to get registered for it.
Gotcha. Thanks a million.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Oh, and here's another thing. Actually, I didn't think about it, but sometimes when you're shopping for new rods, depending on where your tackle shop is located and what their space is like, sometimes they'll let you cast with their rods just to try it out. So maybe you could get a couple casts in if you don't own a rod, just by, like, you know, trying out, you know, some store rods. Although, you know, you don't want to bring them back in knots yet.
Are you saying that I should go to the store and abscond with several for the weekend?
Oh, I wouldn't walk off with them. No.
I got you. Okay, just checking.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. No. I just mean if you're gonna practice on somebody's rod that, you know, lets you use it for a little while.
Right. Yeah. I've definitely done that with the Orbis rods in their parking lots and so forth.
Yeah. That can be fun.
Yeah. All right, who's next? Anybody?
Is Bo Martonic going to be there?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
It'd be cool if he was. He's a pretty cool guy.
He's from East Meets West podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, just checking.
You should ask him to come.
Yeah, he's from that area, from up around Alleghenies.
I gotcha. Very cool. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else?
I gotta say, I'm loving the turkey in the background in my upper right here. Somebody's got a fantastic mount. Heck yeah.
What do we got? Oh, we got a
What's
bear
that?
back there. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome.
Holy cow. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. I didn't even realize it was a black bear too. Oh, that's fun. That's really fun.
That's a
Cool.
bear.
It's
And
a what?
That's a Pennsylvania bear. And those two turkeys my daughter and I got in Texas. They're Rios.
Oh, that is cool. That is really cool.
Our PA turkeys are on the other wall.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
You're making Adam and I jealous right now.
I have a question about the camping.
Yes.
You know do you know what site you're at?
It's the group campsite on Po Patty. I'm not sure what the number is. I might be able to look on my phone here real quick.
And somebody had asked about showers and bathrooms. There are non-flushable toilets at Po Patty.
At Po Patty.
Yes, there are no showers at Po Patty, but for a fee, you can go to Po Valley and use their showers. I don't.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you for the confirmation on that. Okay. So I'm looking at our reservation right now. So this is on Po Patty. It's Site A, which is the group tenting area A.
Very good.
Yep. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate that information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to know. I was just gonna trout bum it for the weekend, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I fell in the river. At least I'm clean. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Very
Well,
cool.
if you guys have any more questions, you feel free to email Adam and I. We're happy to answer anything you need offline.
Yep. And I definitely put mine in the chat. So
Yep. Yep. And then just keep your eye out for that registration, and hopefully we'll have a really fun weekend set out for all of us. All right.
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thank you.